Hey guys, and welcome to DIY Dwight. Today we're going to be making a bench out of one sheet of plywood for the Rockler one sheet of plywood challenge. Not sure if I'm saying that right, but we're going to go with it. So originally this bench was going to have a bottom and enclose on all sides and open up like a chest so we could store things inside. Halfway through the project, I realized I didn't have enough plywood. And so we decided, well, instead we'll just make a drawer and have that slide out. And then towards the end you'll see that didn't quite work out either. Now we're just cutting down the sheet of plywood to make it easier to manage. I do realize that a table saw probably wasn't the best choice for this, but you work with the tools you have. Yeah, a little bit of tear out there. Now we're just going back and measuring everything else, making sure all the lines are exact. Now we're just cutting 2-inch strips. We have a lot of 2-inch strips to cut. And as you can tell, at first it's a little bit of a struggle, but as the board gets shorter and shorter, it becomes easier and easier to cut those strips. These boards are going to be for the top of the bench. After all these cuts, we're going to cut these next boards 4 inches shorter so we can stagger them and create finger joints between the legs and the top boards. So here I'm cutting off an additional 4 inches. I realize now that's probably not the best form for cutting boards, but it works. Right here is where I realized I messed up and didn't make my measurements right for taking into consideration how much cutout there was from the blade. I assumed there was a 1/16 of an inch, and it's really more of an 1/8. So this board ended up being a little too short to be used for the top, but I saved it for later so we can use it for the sides from the plywood. Speaking of sides, now we're cutting down the legs from the plywood. We're doing the same thing we did with the top. Some are going to be shorter, well, half of them are going to be shorter, the other half will be longer. And right now I'm cutting them into longer strips, which will later be cut down on the miter saw, make it easier. Here you can see me cutting down and using a stop block that I kind of improvised, but it works. And now the glue up. So I just glued, stacked, nailed, repeated. And along the way just made sure all my angles were right, checking every 2 or 3 to make sure that I'm still maintaining my 9-degree angle. At this time, I do want to say thank you for checking out my channel, watching my video. I do hope you enjoy and learn something from it. I don't have a whole lot of woodworking experience, but I'm looking forward to learning new things and trying new projects. And I hope you'll subscribe and follow along, and we'll see what else we can build. If you can't tell, I'm not great with the camera yet. If you haven't been able to tell, that'll become apparent in just a minute. But I'm working on both improving woodworking skills and my camera skills. Yeah, I got a little ambitious and wanted to try and finish it up before I had to leave for work. Yeah, worked out okay. Still got to work on time. Had to change shirts though. So if this looks familiar, it's very similar to a design that the Crafted Workshop did about a year ago. The finger joints and everything, it's all very similar, but I'm using my own measurements, my own template, and making some subtle changes to his design. Again, was planning on doing a bench with a opening hinged lid, and then that didn't work, and you'll see here in a little bit what else. And now to just finish it off by sanding it. So I'm rounding off the corners, and at first I was just kind of going for it, and you can tell again that I didn't really realize where the bench was pushed up against and moved the camera along with it every time I started sanding. Here I'm using a paint can and the bottom edge of that to give me a good angle. I measured out the bench and the wood. It's 2 inches by 2 inches, so ideally I should use something that was around 4 inches to give me a good perfect angle, and that paint can just happened to work great. Well, so here's where the bench is right now. I was going to add a drawer face like this. And when you look, it fits pretty much perfectly, except it's meshed up on that corner. It's meshed up on that corner. But in letting the wood sit in the garage, and with our 100-degree heat, it has warped my board, and that's just not going to look good. So I guess all that's left to do then is leave it how it is. I was going to try and add that functionality of having like a drawer, but I guess it's just going to be a bench. So all that we have left to do is to sand it a little bit more, stain it, and seal it. Now I'm just sanding with 220 grit. I already sanded with 40 and then 140, and I'm finishing it off with 800 grit sandpaper after the stain, which you'll see in just a moment. Well, and there's the bench, guys. I appreciate you staying through and watching the video. I hope you learned something, and if you like this video, please hit the like button, leave a comment, and subscribe, and I look forward to seeing you on the next one.